Stretch 5 Podcast, episode 0039. Macklemore Dellavedova.
Welcome back into the Stretch 5 Podcast. Today is Friday, February 3rd, 2017, and I am your host for the Stretch 5 Podcast, Brad Sturgeon. Joining me today, as per always, is the co-host of Stretch 5, Mr. Brian McCalla.
What's going on, man? My Heat have won 9 games in a row. You can believe that?
No. I can't. You're going to have to convince me more than that, because that's ridiculous.
I got you. You'll come around soon.
Yeah, right? If you would have told me that the Cavs are 7-8 and the Heat a 9-game heater, man, I wouldn't have believed you. There's no way.
Hottest team in the league. I mean, we're taking down Warriors. We're taking down Rockets. We're doing it all.
You're almost losing to the Nets or
hey,
whatever
but we
they're
didn't.
called now.
But we didn't.
Yeah. And we thought we'd try something a little different this time around. So we've got a stranger sitting in with us to record today. She calls herself the Quality Control and NBA Insider. Welcome on, Marie Rush. How's it feel to be on this podcast?
Did you miss me?
For the first time. So who are you again?
I think I live with you.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to come back before it was time for March Madness, which we all know is only when basketball starts.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is all preseason, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's time to take the jersey down from the rafters. I mean,
well, she got to put it back on, you know?
I decided to pull an Iverson. No, I've just been busy. I'm back. It's all good.
Welcome. But if 2 is company and 3 is too much, you can tell us about it on Twitter at Stretch5Pod or by email at stretch5podcast@gmail.com. Today, I think we may actually get a 3 for 3. But before that, it's X's and O's.
Breaking down the news so you don't have to. This is X's and O's.
Like you heard, it's X's and O's, the segment where we break down what happened this week so that you don't have to. But, I mean, you could if you want to, but you don't have to because we did. Anyway, Big Voice, what's up first?
Repetitive topic fatigue.
All right, so this will be a quick one. This will be a little rundown, kind of a sequel, again, to what's been going on the last couple weeks and what seems to be going on every week this basketball season. It seems like we've had the same 3 or 4 or 5 subjects the entire season this basketball year. Those things being the Knicks super team struggles, the Bulls super team struggles, now the Cavs super team struggles. You know, you've got all the struggling in January for the Cleveland Cavaliers / the team that LeBron's on. You've got LeBron versus Barkley, the Kansas scandal, the Bulls, as we said, imploding. A little bit of everything on repeat right now.
I mean, every super team is struggling except for your Warriors.
Do we count the Spurs as a super team, or are they too boring?
They're too boring.
I mean, they don't even put them on TV. They're good, but super team? Nah.
Yeah, no.
Can you name 4 Spurs?
Oh, that's a good contest.
Can't.
Okay. LaMarcus Aldridge.
I was actually going to ask, can someone name me a Spur?
Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker.
Can you name somebody that hasn't been on the team for like 5 years?
Boris Diaw.
He's not on the team.
He hasn't been on the team for 5 years. That's not what you meant, though.
No.
Let's see.
He's struggling without Tim Duncan.
No. I got
that would have been his 4th.
There's a name. There's a name in my head. I can think of your last names. Green. I can give you. The guy whose name is Irish.
Wait.
Danny Green.
Are you going to pull out like a Smith? There's a Smith on there and a Jones.
I can't
maybe
believe
a Johnson.
No, there's a Danny Green. There is there's the guy whose name I can't think of who sounds Irish even though he's a little black guy who's a guard for him.
Patty Mills.
Patty Mills, thank you.
I can't believe you didn't say Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard, there we go. That's one I should have thought of. He did Patty Mills. He played at St. Mary's, the home of, Dellavedova. So
He also looks like The Weeknd.
a little bit. Well, I mean, Dellavedova looks like what's his name from The Heist.
Does he actually look like The Weeknd, or does his hair just look like The Weeknd?
He looks like the guy from The Heist. What's his name?
I don't know who he's talking about.
The one who did Thrift Shop.
Okay.
Thrift Shop.
Ever since the
Macklemore.
Wait a
Macklemore.
second. How does he look like Macklemore? Macklemore's white.
No, Matthew Dellavedova. Follow along. I know this is your first time on this podcast, but try and follow along if you can.
That's not who he was talking about.
Ever since The Weeknd cut his hair, he looks just like Patty Mills.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't confusing that much.
Matthew Dellavedova does not look like The Weeknd.
The Weeknd does not look like Macklemore. Just straight up.
However, maybe it's Bogut that looks like Macklemore.
Andrew Bogut?
Now I'm just screwing with you.
That's also false.
Now I'm just screwing with you. Yeah, but we've had like 8 different things pop up the last 3 or 4 weeks in a row. They keep happening. It keeps happening. And I don't know how to explain or describe. Like, usually certain storylines arise and then they go away. But this season, it seems like nothing is going away. Like, Grayson Allen's been a dick the whole year. Coach K has had the back surgery thing again. It just doesn't seem to be any of it going away.
I mean, it's been a slow news week because it's been the same stuff over and over again. That's all they're talking about. They're just drilling it into us.
Well, we're not going to cover this because this is a basketball podcast, but it all doesn't help that the entire news media is focused on talking about the same game that's happening on Sunday all week as well. It's all about the NFL, even though there's only one game left.
I just tune all that stuff out. I mean, I can't listen to that stuff for a good week. It makes me not want to watch that game.
But Tom Brady versus Matty Ice, though.
It's worse because we're in Atlanta.
Do Julio Jones be the greatest receiver? Is Tom Brady the best quarterback?
How will the Patriots stop Julio Jones? But how will the Falcons stop Tom Brady?
Which offense will show up on Sunday?
They need to take Tom Brady out. That's what they need to do.
What, like
who was it who said that in the middle of an NBA game, the Cavs game, where they just went for the 3-point record? Was it Charles Barkley who was just break someone's kneecap?
I think that was Charles Barkley when they broke it against. I believe it was against the Hawks.
So bad.
Yeah.
So
he was
bad.
saying the Hawks needed to injure somebody if they wanted to get back in the game.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even to get back in the game.
No,
He
just 'cause he had the
was
record.
to injure someone.
He was like, you got to have your pride about you. They're doing this. They're embarrassing you. You got to get out there, take
That's
somebody
right,
out.
yeah.
You got to take someone out. I think that was his
Exactly.
line is, you got to take somebody out. And I was actually in agreement with him. I'm like, look, I played football for a long time. If they're doing that to you, you do go take somebody out. Like, that's not a question.
That's what they need to do to Tom Brady. Just saying.
I mean, they already took out Gronk. If he wins the Super Bowl, he really is the greatest of all time.
How
But
bad of a penalty would that be, though? Seriously, if you just came over and clothesline Tom Brady.
15 yards and an ejection from the next game.
Take one for the team, dog.
Yeah, that next game is either a preseason game or the first game of next year. They'd probably tack on a couple extras thinking it was intentional. But I mean, you'd be the hero of the day. Either team, if you took out Matt Ryan or Tom Brady in that game, they would probably go behind the NFL's back and give you a pretty hefty bonus for taking that guy out of the game for them.
But does it cheapen the win?
Who
It don't matter.
cares?
If the Patriots lose, that's all that
I'm just being a troll
matters.
today.
Yeah.
Go Falcons.
Rise up.
Who dat? All right, big voice. What's up next?
NCAA college basketball.
So speaking of subject matter that gets old when we keep talking about it for, eons and eons and weeks on end, college basketball. And guess who's in the news again? That's right. It's Duke and Kansas. I really thought I would never in my life get tired of trashing the Jayhawks and the Blue Devils. But it looks like that time is almost upon us because once again, Kansas is in the news and it's hard to even talk about it. It's horrible what's going on there. It's reminiscent of what happened with Baylor a couple of years ago in the football program, stuff that's just now coming to light. It's reminiscent of a lot of these programs that seem to get away with things that they shouldn't, and these students who get massive privileges for being able to catch and shoot a ball. And in some ways it's reminiscent. It's not nearly as bad, but it is reminiscent of what's happening at Louisville. It's at, even UNC, although it's totally different matter. Penn State comes to mind. So these allegations now with Kansas are not nearly as damning as any of those things, but we had Carlton Bragg being indefinitely suspended twice before this podcast. We've had the rape charge with 5 Jayhawks being named as persons of interest or witnesses. We've got the girl who was alleging that one of the current players in Kansas's roster who was not, it looks like, not punished last season going into this season, saying that that same guy attacked her car and vandalized it. And now it looks like maybe Josh Jackson's involved too, their star point guard. So
Yeah, because I mean, apparently that event where he hit the girl happened in 2015.
yeah,
And he was never suspended, didn't miss a single game. I mean, it's similar to what's going on down there in Baylor with the football program, or really the whole entire athletic program.
it feels like the Big 12 has, because we know Texas has had some of this stuff before too. It feels like it's just sort of sweeping everything under the rug. You know, you get that big booster for Oklahoma State as well. What, Boone Pickens, I think his name is.
Well, I mean, there haven't.
Yeah, isn't that a great name, Brian? he just made a face like he ate something that tickled his fancy but wasn't quite right either.
It was a rough moment to laugh.
Yeah.
The Big 12 has a lot of large scandals that have broken out, but I mean, this has been a one-off thing throughout college sports, where you're having allegations of assault, allegations of rape that are not being dealt with in the manner that you would hope that they would. Like, it's being pretty much overlooked. Players are still being allowed to play even while investigations are ongoing.
Well, in the Kansas case, it's not entirely true. They have started suspending people, and they're looking into it. And if this stuff comes to light that it is wrong, then you have to think they'll do the right thing. However, they should have done the right thing last season with this other guy, whose name escapes me at the moment. Not Josh Jackson, the other guy involved with this. I think his last name is Vic. Is that right?
Gerald Vick.
Yeah, LeGerald Vick. They should have suspended him straight out, and they haven't, and it's more than likely they won't. And unless this stuff comes to light more, the problem now is he's been on the team. He's been running around. He's been representing your university. And what's more sort of disturbing is probably the most important part of all that is he's been racking up the wins for you. So the problem also is, what can the NCAA do? You know, how we saw with Penn State, that it's not really their business to butt in and attack somebody for them attacking another student, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that the school needs to handle, but at some point you would think the NCAA needs to step in and maybe do something if they can't get it under control.
That's why all these issues are popping up with your UNCs and Louisville's and even like Penn State. Is with Penn State, they overstepped. They said, we're giving you basically the death penalty, and then they had to come back and say, sorry, we didn't mean that because we can't do that because it's not our power. All we can really enforce is sports. And you know, as horrible as it is, you weren't raping kids on the football field, so we can't really do anything to you. But then that left it to the actual university and the academic, the people on the academic side to take care of business on their end, and they did. The problem is you've now got universities like UNC and Louisville who don't want to take care of it on their end. They want to sweep it under the rug as much as possible. The academics have been completely superseded in integrity by the athletics.
Well, with UNC, it's because it's partially an academic issue.
Yes.
They made up a department. Like, of course you don't want to take care of that. Your academics are involved.
But let's be real. They made up an academic department for the athletics.
Oh, no, most definitely. And that's not under any sort of
well, and the problem there is
issue.
you're picking and choosing, because you're going through an academic department that can't be punished as severely as the athletics one can by the NCAA, and just hinging on the fact that the people who should be punishing you aren't that interested in punishing you in this case.
Well, but that's also the fact of the matter. Like, it's a very different scenario than what was happening at Penn State. Penn State, it was not the academic side of the university at all. With UNC, that is not the case. The entire university is involved.
I mean, I think these schools kind of enable these students to think they're invincible, because, I mean, minus getting paid, these guys are treated like celebrities on campus. You know, they're given free things. They're able to pretty much do whatever they want, knowing that, you know, someone's going to be there to kind of make sure it's swept under the rug so they don't get in trouble and they continue to play ball.
What's amazing to me is that your school, the U, in the 80s was this big, scandalous, horrible program. And what's the worst y'all were doing? You know, taking some money and doing some drugs?
I mean, we had a guy, he was taking us to like strip clubs and stuff like that, but he was buying cars and things like that.
So it was just like a Louisville.
No. I was gonna say actually,
it was
No
Louisville,
hookers.
not Baylor.
No hookers.
yeah, no hookers,
Just strippers. No
just
hookers.
dances, just dances. It's not even that
Okay,
bad.
wait, that's location. That is straight up location.
They were having like yacht parties and whatnot. But I mean,
I can tell you this much: those strippers at those strip clubs definitely charge more for anything in a VIP room than they did for a dance, and that's not the case in Louisville.
King of
Louisville.
Diamonds in Miami, man, that's expensive.
Yeah.
I have a joke that's horrible, and I'm not going to say it.
No, let's say it. Not. Wait. It's time for Marie's official horrible joke of the podcast. Go, Marie.
That's just bad marketing.
The dude get
If you are getting more money for a lap dance than you are for giving it up, that's just bad marketing.
yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Make it rain. The only other real stories, I mean, obviously you had Baylor versus Kansas. So,
That's ironic.
right? It's number 3 versus number 2. So like 2 of the best programs in the country this year fighting for the control of one of the best conferences. And Kansas has won this conference 12 years in a row. And Baylor was ranked number 1 in the AP polls for the first time ever in their school's history. But no, we got domestic abuse and police getting involved, and that takes the cake. And it's kind of like, oh man, like really, this one time these schools are great and they're facing each other like this, and they're both gonna be like, how are you gonna drop the ball like that, Kansas and Baylor? Like, how is this gonna be the thing that you're remembered for? It's not gonna be this great game. It's gonna be the fact that, both of your schools are possibly going down the tubes, and you got nobody to blame but yourselves.
Well, and I feel like we've gotten to a point with a lot of these programs where they feel like that's what they have to do to have the players. They're not looking at players' personalities the way that you probably have to run a clean
Yeah.
department. Like, that's just... I don't see any other way of looking at that than that, is that they are not really being all that picky about the personality types. They're being picky about the athletics. And unfortunately, you occasionally have to be picky about personalities.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I almost feel like Kansas is being more reactionary than they are being proactive.
Yes, they are.
Because they're
agree with
so
that.
close to these schools like Baylor, who have these incidents, even in Oklahoma with the football player that hit the girl. Because they're so close to these other schools, it's almost like, okay, if it's happening to them, maybe we should start to do something so this doesn't fall on us.
Right. But then that would jeopardize rather your chances at a championship for that season, and nobody wants that. I mean, Louisville just about tore itself in half, sitting out of last year's NCAA tournament.
Right.
And they're looking like maybe some sort of not favorites, but contenders going into this year's championship, and it was suggested they do the same thing, and they laughed it off. They're like, nah, that's not how that works.
You almost have to also blame like campus police,
Well,
because a lot of these campus police are tied in with the athletic programs, and so you have the coaches going to these guys and be like, yo, don't take my guy to jail, or don't do anything disciplinary to him.
And the funny thing is the regular students are getting, it's getting stricter and stricter and more ridiculous, the things you can and can't do on
It's
campus.
a different standard for these athletes.
Oh, it's just creating a bigger gap between the students and the athletes. And, even beyond that, the funny thing is you look at this Duke situation, and what has Duke really done? I mean, there was the thing where they, bought all the jewelry with a payday loan, basically, $50,000 loan for some jewelry for some college kid. Yeah, that stinks. And yeah, Coach K seems to get a back injury every time his team's bad, and Grayson Allen's kicking people in the nuts, But really, it kind of makes you stop and go, like, why do we hate Duke so much, and why are we letting Kansas off the hook?
Duke's lacrosse team was pretty bad.
Yeah, but I'm talking basketball.
Basketball wise, yeah, they
just got
they
a
look
bad
like an
look.
angel compared to Kansas and Baylor.
Yeah, like, Baylor, we got 50-some rapes on campus. Kansas, they're I don't think, is there a law they haven't broken like the last, 12 months?
Drug possession.
As far as I know, no one has stolen steaks from the Kroger.
They did fight the football team. That happened last season. The basketball team and the football team fought each other.
What?
It wasn't steaks you're talking about. You're talking about crabs.
Crab legs. Crab legs.
Crab legs. I'm sorry.
Good old Jameis Winston.
Right. Source of infinite
Florida
amusement.
State. That's what they do down there.
I just knew it was fancy food. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you got it from Publix too. I mean, jeez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What a step below. A step below.
If you had to grade the food that he stole, would you say it was C food?
Wah, wah, wah.
All right, Big Voice, what's up next?
NBA.
All right, moving on to the NBA, where the drama is just as consistent as the NCAA.
And the jerseys are in Chinese, I think.
It's the Chinese New Year, man. Got to celebrate.
Year of the Rooster.
Yeah, we're in here doing the podcast. Got the Rockets playing the Bulls right now. And speaking of the Rockets,
Yeah.
Yao Ming is having his jersey retired at halftime of this game.
Oh.
So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Yao Ming is, you should go look him up.
He is not a cello player, despite your previous preconceived notions.
Right. But
he is a great center from a time
it's safe
slightly before my time.
It's safe to say he's the greatest Chinese basketball player of all time. He was 7'6".
Is there a lot of competition?
Yeah.
Does
I mean,
he
not
still
really.
play for the Chinese national team?
No, he doesn't play at all.
No,
Okay.
he's one of the advisors.
He's more of an ambassador now for the game of basketball over in China. He's really grown it to where millions of kids over there are wanting to play basketball. But, he was 7'6". He was one of the tallest guys in the NBA. He was the first overall pick in 2002. He was an 8-time All-Star. He played 9 seasons with the Rockets. And it's kind of unfortunate that his career got cut short because
Derailed.
of injuries.
Yeah.
I think he had dealt with foot injuries the most.
He was one of those big men in the aughts who kind of fell apart because of foot injuries. It was like him. Who else fell apart? Greg Oden was another good example. There were a couple guys like that.
You can even Embiid, even though he's back healthy now, he dealt with foot
now
injuries
he's
to
got
start his
another
career.
Bruised knees out for a while, you're saying.
Unfortunate. But, it's kind of cool that they're retiring his jersey. He's going to be one of only 6 guys in that franchise to have their jersey retired. And kind of a funny story, when Yao Ming, a story that came out, it said that when Yao Ming was watching his first ever NBA game, he looked up into the rafters and he was like, why are those jerseys hanging there? Like, he had no idea why we had jerseys hanging up in the rafters. And so slowly he came to realize, that's like the highest honor you can get is having your jersey retired and for everybody to look up and see what you've done for the team and for the franchise.
Is that not a thing in international basketball? I actually don't know.
I'm not sure, so I can't confirm that or not, but apparently, I guess not in China, because he had no idea why they had jerseys hanging up in the rafters. But, for his time in the league in his 9th season, he was a dominant guy. He averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. He was really one of the only guys that I could see challenge Shaq when they played against each other.
He was one of the few guys who really gave Shaq a hard time when he was defending Shaq. Some guys could score over Shaq, and Yao Ming certainly was one of those, but he was also one of the most skilled bigs playing the game. He just happened to be going up against a historically great big. I mean, he also was historically great,
Right.
but Shaq is possibly the greatest center of all time.
Yeah.
So...
And, I mean, even Yao Ming had some handles. I remember I saw a game that he played in Portland where he had a turnover. He was leading the break. He did a behind the back, to dribble the ball and just dunked it in somebody's face. So he was an agile big man. He had some skills other than just, dumping it down to him and dunking the ball on you.
We don't normally think of Yao Ming as the predecessor to DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony
He started
Davis.
it all.
Yeah, right. They're all like, I want to be Yao Ming when I grow up.
Right? So, this kind of just culminates his career. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame back in September. And so now with his jersey being retired, this kind of solidifies, his NBA career. So it'll be a cool experience to see his jersey get retired. I'm sure everybody back in China is going to be watching that.
Oh, I'm sure they're going nuts. They watch that stuff like gangbusters. Like,
Exactly.
they buy in way more than the American audience does to that kind of thing. I think because it's so alien and unique to their audience. They're like, what, they retired? That's amazing. What, our guy's getting his jersey retired? That's amazing.
And I'm sure they feel a part of that too, because that's one of their guys.
Their guy, yeah. Interesting, funny that you chose this game though. I'm like, Yao Ming's getting his jersey retired. I'm like, that's funny. Dwayne Wade's playing.
Little side note, yeah. Can't go wrong with that. But so yeah, that'll be a cool thing to see. Moving on to some other NBA news. Had one trade go down. Not too many big names, but this is the first of, I'm sure, plenty to come as we get closer to the trade deadline.
Who'd LeBron get?
LeBron didn't get nobody yet. They actually, if we're gonna, let's touch on that real quick. They had tryouts for the Cavs. They brought in Jordan Farmar, Kirk Heinrich, Mario Chalmers, and Lance Stevenson.
Wow.
And so early reports are coming out that they actually like Jordan Farmar the most.
Really?
Out of all those guys. Yeah, I was surprised when I heard that.
He would have been possibly bottom of my list. Him or Heinrich would have definitely been the last guy on my list.
I would have thought Mario Chalmers and then maybe Lance Stevenson and then those other guys in whatever order.
Stevenson's the better player, but do you really want an ear blower? And do you really want someone who kind of blows up locker rooms like that?
Yeah.
Didn't he blow in LeBron's ear?
In LeBron's ear.
That's one of the greatest.
He probably was never even in the running. Let's be honest. He was never even in the running. They just invited him in.
This is a random thought, but it always makes me think of that song people made, that fake song in the 90s, the late 90s, where Mike Tyson fought Evander Holyfield and bit his ear. And so someone made a song that was called I Bit His Ear. And it was just like, I bit his ear. I took a bite.
I don't know if I've heard that.
I definitely haven't heard that, but I wasn't allowed on the internet until the aughts.
That would explain it.
Yeah. But
you weren't living yet.
But yeah, so a trade went down. You had the Milwaukee Bucks and the Charlotte Hornets involved. Milwaukee, they went ahead and shipped out Miles Plumlee, one of the Plumlee brothers.
107.
Yep. Which is kind of weird because they actually signed him to a 4-year, $50 million deal in the offseason.
Was he the one that was fighting with with DeMarcus Cousins for that spot on the USA team? Or was that Mason?
That was Mason. That was Mason, yeah. So they shipped Miles out. So I guess they were trying to clear some cap room and go in a different direction. But they bring in Roy Hibbert, a.k.a. the trash can.
Wait, I thought that was Kevin Love going in the trash can. And I thought Roy Hibbert was a Laker.
Roy Hibbert is the original trash can.
I thought he was a Laker. What's going on here?
Once again, our Brad doesn't know rosters.
This week on Brad Doesn't Know Rosters.
We should play that game with name that guy or something like that.
Name that roster and just throw me a name and I'll just be like,
what team is he on?
Like, it'll be Milwaukee every time.
Right? Milwaukee or Minnesota.
And you'll have stipulations. It's not, you can't say Milwaukee and you can't say Phoenix. Damn it.
The only guy you know is Shabazz Muhammad.
Shout out.
But yeah, I don't really get this trade. Roy Hibbert, he's actually injured right now, so I don't know why you trade for an injured guy. That just tells me that they're just trying to shed some cap room with signing this guy to a 4-year, $50 million deal.
It works so well for the team that's on a 9-game winning streak now, right? You shed some cap room, get rid of some guys a couple years ago. Now you're on a 9-game winning streak in an unrelated season 2 years later.
True.
That's what they're going for.
It's all part of the process, right?
Yeah, right? Halfway through that 2020 season, they're going to have a 9-game winning streak, and it's going to come back to this.
As long as Charlotte keeps losing, I'm fine, because that means Miami's going to be moving up.
The entire East is losing right now, and it's kind of
except for
sad.
Miami.
I mean,
Except for
that's
Miami.
true. That's true. I mean, y'all, I'm on that 1 seed. You
ain't too far.
What do you got? 20 wins now?
Yeah, man. 20 and 30.
The crazy thing is you're actually not that far from first place anymore. You're like 12 games back.
That's how bad the East is, man.
We looked at it, though. The funny thing is, while the East, like as a whole, the quote-unquote parity, what everyone wants in pro sports, is definitely alive and well in the NBA. If you look at the bottom of the East and West, the Eastern team in the 8th spot is 1 game up on the 8th seed in the West Conference. It's kind of amazing that for all the hype for the Western Conference, the East has the better worst team.
That's pretty surprising.
It really is.
For typically how the East versus the West goes. Usually more of the bad teams are in the East, but...
Well, this is something we talked about early in the season where I thought there was going to be a lot of... I thought everybody was going to be in the middle, and they kind of are. They're all in that 20 to 30, 20 win, 30 loss range right now. It seems like the entire freaking league is under 500.
Which is pretty sad. It's been a kind of a disappointing regular season, so hopefully the playoffs are a little bit more exciting once we get there.
What we're seeing is that if everybody is 500, if everybody is 25-25, it sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that crap. You want great teams.
Yeah, you want to see good basketball out there.
You want LeBron James versus Steph Curry. You want Jordan versus the entire association. You want Bird and Magic. You don't want the Bulls and Rockets. And everybody's got 25 wins, and the entire roster is full of people you don't know who they are.
Could be worse. One of them could be the Nets.
We don't speak about the Nets on this podcast. They have yet to hit double-digit wins, I believe. I believe they're 9 and 30-something.
You don't get talked about until you get double-digit wins.
Didn't the Cavs manage? Did they beat the Nets?
They did, but they gave up like over 100 points to them.
And then they gave one up to the Mavericks too.
Yeah, they lost to the Mavericks.
Ugh.
But I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, like I said, the playoffs get better.
Well, unfortunately, that's also a recurring storyline as the Cavs sucking it up recently.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that about does it for the NBA news.
There's not much going on.
One last little quick bit. The Chicago Bulls think they have a snitch in their assistant coach.
A snitch, as in gonna get stitches.
That's what they're claiming. They're saying that this is what Jimmy Butler is saying, that their assistant coach Randy Brown is a snitch working for the front office.
He named him?
He named him.
Oh
he named him.
Wow.
He was like, if you talk ill about this franchise, make sure you don't do it in front of Randy Brown, because he's gonna go back and tell the GM.
Downtown Randy Brown snitching on everybody.
That
Damn.
relationship has to be lovely. Like,
and you got your star player snitching on the snitch. Man, that's just turning around fast.
snitches everywhere, man.
Now we need Rondo to put out a Twitter post. That's
That'll
the next
solve
step.
it.
That's the
That'll
next
solve
step. Well, then Randy Brown will come up with his own Twitter post. It'll be slightly different from Rondo's, but similar.
But I mean, check out this. There's more to this story though. Check this out. So back in 2014, right before Butler signed that mass extension to stay with the Bulls,
Yeah.
one of their GMs came to Jimmy and said, if you don't sign this extension, we're going to take your minutes and we're going to play Tony Snell in your place. Tony Snell's going to take your minutes and you're going to take Tony Snell's minutes if you don't sign this extension. And word got back to Tom Thibodeau, the coach at the time, and he was like, that's not happening. So that's why Jimmy Butler and Tom Thibodeau have a really close relationship, is because Thibodeau was pretty much sticking up for him. And that's another reason why Thibodeau got canned in Chicago, because he was going against what the front office was doing.
Here's my thought. Maybe this is all a ploy in Minnesota for Tom Thibodeau to tank the team such that they trade a bunch of assets and get rid of Wiggins and bring on Jimmy Butler.
He wants Jimmy so bad on his team.
I mean, that would be an interesting team. Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns, Shabazz Muhammad. It would be a fun team to watch, but I don't know how good they'd necessarily be.
I think that's just our wanting Minnesota to be good so bad.
I'm done with Minnesota.
Are you done? Are you?
I'm off the bandwagon.
You're letting the love go?
Yeah.
No, I got to give it another season because I always do that. I go one season too long, so we'll see.
Let me know how that turns out.
But you're on probation. You've been warned, Minnesota.
But not you, Shabazz Muhammad. Not you.
No, we'll shout you out even when you're out. We'll shout you out when that 5-year Hall of Fame ballot's coming up. First ballot shout out.
Big boy, save us.
Not 1 for 3, not 2 for 3. It's 3 for 3 on the Stretch 5 podcast.
Next is 3 for 3, actually. We're actually at 40 minutes almost, believe it or not.
3 for 3.
He sent me this sounds. So he sent me what he was wanting me to do was the big voice. I redid it. Out of respect. It was bad. This is 3 for 3. It's just 3 for 3. 3 for 3. 3. What we used some like thing too. Like a lyric after it.
Yeah. Too. I said something, I don't know. I was just having too much fun with the big voice thing.
I know it's addicting, right? It's fun. Everything sounds great when you're a big voice.
Oh, I was saying like 3 for 3, 3 for 3.
I wish this was
going hard in the paint. It's 3 for 3.
That's what it was. And it was like he had this weird voice. He had like an accent he put on. 3 for 3, go hard in the paint. It's 3 for 3. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't use this. Why wasn't this part of a bit?
Oh, man.
Big Voice's cousin come in and try to take Big Voice's job.
Maybe this can be part of a bit. The history of the Big Voice. Sneak it in there, all natural like. At the end, I'll just play it. I'll just throw a 3 for 3.
Right? Sneak it in there.
Shit, this will be the start of the start of that part of the podcast. So this is 3 for 3, where we go through 3 things for the week coming up that we are looking forward to doing or watching and observing. I don't know, seeing. So, up first, as always, I believe it's me.
1 for 3. Brad's picks NCAA basketball.
All right, no bonus game this go around. I got 3 for you for my 3-4-3 for college basketball. The first one, all these are on ESPN for some reason. Just that's how it is. First game, the 4th of February, tomorrow, 17th, Saturday, 4 p.m. on the ESPN. It's number 14 Arizona at number 25 Oregon. The battle of teams that are ranked way higher in the AP and college poll than they are in the KenPom polls. It is a battle for the top of the Pac-12, believe it or not, despite the fact that UCLA does still inhabit that conference, the Conference of Champions, according to Bill Walton. This is a game that will determine quite a lot when it comes to that conference. So Arizona's on a tear right now. They put their new guy, their freshman Trier, came in off the bench and started tearing things up for the Wildcats. Meanwhile, Dylan Brooks in Oregon been having a pretty good year. They beat UCLA, obviously, in that last second shot by Dylan Brooks at the Duck's Nest. I don't know what they call their arena. The Duck Home.
Did they really
whatever.
call it that?
Yeah, I don't know. They call it something.
No, he's making things up.
The Nike Basketball Palace. I don't know.
He making things up.
Just like that Mike Tyson song.
That's right. No, I did not make that one up. Don't make me sing about Dylan Brooks now. I will. So I think I got Zona in this one. It's at Oregon, but I think Arizona's a better team. Next up, I've got number 4, Louisville, at number 2, Virginia. The Cavaliers hosting the Cards in a game that will be determined by whose weird one-off defense is better than the other, the press of Louisville or the pack line defense of Virginia's team. Virginia lost a very close one at Villanova last week, and they're looking to round about their resume, get another big win on the resume with a beatdown of Louisville at home. Louisville, meanwhile, has had a pretty good season. They beat Kentucky. They've had some fairly decent success in the ACC, but they're looking for a good signature win, and going to Virginia and beating them would both give them that signature win and throw the entire ACC into chaos. Everybody's beating everybody in the ACC right now.
Louisville's ACC?
Yeah, have been for a while.
Oh.
They came in with Syracuse from the Big East. Well, from the AAC, which was before that from the Big East. So
Learn something new every day.
And before that, they were part of the...
It's part of why the ACC is so stacked with good basketball teams.
Yep, part of that. Before it was Conference USA, before that was the Metro. So they've moved a lot.
The Metro?
Yeah, the Metro Conference. That's where you had your Memphises and your Cincy's and all that shit. So I've got Louisville in this game. They tend to win games this time of year, and Virginia tends to look vulnerable. So that's the only real reason. Although UVA does have a kid on their team who looks like Kid and Play. He's got the hair. It's amazing.
The, what's it called? A flat top?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are all about the flat top.
It's a high top fade, man. It's nice. It's not Nerlens Noel level when he was in Kentucky, but it's getting there.
I think he's still rocking it too in the league.
Well, he was, and then he did that braided thing. You know, look, he looks like homeless.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't look like I hate to say that because you can wear your hair however you want to, but man, it does not look good on him.
When you're making millions, don't matter what your hair look like.
Yeah, but he had that trademark.
I know
going
many people that would not agree with that statement at all. Somebody's barber's rolling over in their grave.
Yeah.
Third game. Oh, wait. That game also is on the 6th. That's going to be on Monday. It's at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Last one, third one, also on ESPN, 8 p.m. It is on the 8th, which is going to be Wednesday. And this game is the one that gives all the ESPN content producers an erection. It's the first matchup between UNC and Duke. Number 11, UNC visits number 13, Duke at Cameron Indoor. Coach K will be back for this game. Grayson Allen will be kicking nuts as usual. UNC is a title contender. Duke is kind of looking like they may not be. If they lose this game and don't recover, Duke probably won't be looked at as a title contender. However, Carolina is a great team. They also have a kid named Josh Jackson. There's two of them who are star point guards in college basketball this year. Kansas and Carolina both have one. So I think in that game, I got to take the home team. I'm going with Duke. I took the road team in the last two, and I think Duke's going to probably beat Carolina at home. They usually swap games during the season. I think Duke is not as good as Carolina, but I think at home they get some weird calls, kind of like Kansas does. And I think they're just going to find a way to win this game. So those are my three. Big voice. Let's get to Brian.
2 for 3. Brian's picks. NBA.
All right, we got some NBA games for you coming up this week. My first choice is going to be on Monday, TNT at 7 p.m. You got the Cleveland Cavaliers visiting the Washington Wizards.
Big Monday.
And this is actually a pretty big game. I mean, Washington has been playing a lot better basketball. Right now, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and they're actually 4th in the standings in the East.
Really? They took that 4th seed from what, the Hawks?
Yeah, they
Everyone's
jumped the
favorite
Hawks.
team. Yeah.
Jumped the Hawks. And, I mean, John Wall, he's been playing out of his mind right now. He's like a damn flash out there, the way he goes up and down a basketball
He's
court.
having a career season for sure.
Yeah. And all that drama, all that mess about him and Bradley Beal not getting along, that's a bunch of garbage because right now they're playing really good basketball. And I actually got to hand it to the coach, Scott Brooks. You know, I'm always hating on him because I don't think he's a good coach, but he's been able to, get this team to play together and kind of get this winning streak to where they're in playoff contention for really home court advantage, at least in the first round.
You're talking about John Wall. His career stats, he's 18-9-4. This year he's 23-10-4.
Damn.
I mean, that's
what's up.
That's a year right there. Born in 1990, don't we all feel old?
Damn.
Why you gotta be like that?
And he was at Kentucky in 2010.
Why you gotta be like that?
Think about those kids who were on that team last year. Let's look up when Jamal Murray was born.
Don't do that.
Like 95-ish.
What's wrong with you?
Take his phone away, please. I'm going to go with the Wizards. They're at home. They're playing better basketball than Cleveland right now. I kind of see them maybe even blowing out Cleveland in this game. Wall always seems to step up when he's playing against big-time players. So I'm going with Washington.
1997. Jamal Murray was born in 1997.
Look me in the eye.
Jamal Murray.
I feel really old.
Hey,
The Atlanta Olympics
Hey.
are older than Jamal Murray.
Hey, look me in the eye.
Yo.
Fuck you.
You trying to give me that E-tag? We're trying to avoid that shit.
Got him.
Damn it.
All right, my next game coming up is on Saturday. You have the Boston Celtics visiting the Utah Jazz.
That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, they're both teams that are surprise teams. You got Boston, who's now in the second spot in the East. They've actually won 5 straight games right now. You have Isaiah Thomas, who they were calling Mr. Fourth Quarter.
I was gonna say the fans of the All-Star game were definitely before the season started anticipating this red hot matchup between Gordon Hayward and Isaiah Thomas.
Utah's a surprise though. They are 5th in the East, or not in the East, in the West right now.
They'd be like 3rd in the East.
They're 31-19. I definitely didn't. I knew they were going to improve, but I didn't know they were going to be this good.
They are a team that's definitely taken a step up. We talked about them at the end of last year that we thought they would take that step forward. I know Trey Lyles is on that team along with Gordon Hayward.
They made key moves in the offseason. They went and traded out for George Hill, their point guard. They signed Joe Johnson, and they signed Boris Dia, who you thought was still on the Spurs.
So he still is, as far as I know. They got Marcus Page,
So they're doing big things. And you got to give credit to their coach.
If you're looking it up right now.
Dante Exum. Derek Favors. Who doesn't love that guy?
They got a deep team. They got a deep squad, and if I had to pick somebody in that game, that's a tough one, really. I got to go with I'm just going to go with the home team and go with Utah. But it should be a close game. It should be a good game.
Doesn't hurt that it's the Celtics.
Nah, not at all. Anytime you can go against the Celtics, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, this is probably the biggest game coming up. It's also on Saturday. It's the ABC primetime game. You have Kevin Durant going back to OKC. You got
Lord.
the Warriors playing at the Thunder.
That one matchup. We talked about this one matchup. It didn't happen until February.
Exactly.
Well, we blinked, and now it's February, and now he has to go pay the piper.
Saturday, February 11th, 8 p.m.
WrestleMania.
It's going to be a crazy atmosphere.
Pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view only.
Get your tickets now. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Wait, what day is it?
Saturday.
Saturday, Saturday, Saturday. It's harder to say.
I definitely think he's gonna get booed. The moment he steps on the court,
Yeah.
every time he touches the ball, he's gonna get booed.
I kind of want there to be a rumble again.
Let him foul Russell Westbrook and see what happens.
That'll be fun to watch.
Let him
wanna
foul.
rumble.
Let him foul
Right?
Russell Westbrook and see what happened.
Now, it's not going to be as bad as when LeBron went back to Cleveland for the first time, but I think it's going to be a hostile atmosphere.
Well, I don't think any city can feel as betrayed as Cleveland.
If anybody fouls
right about
Russell
that.
Westbrook hard, though, it's going to be an issue.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a high intensity, high emotion game. You know, the Thunder are gonna come out and want to just dominate, knowing that Kevin Durant's back in their town.
Yeah.
And then of course you have the fans who feel betrayed because that's where KD pretty much started his career. That's where he played the last couple years, and then all of a sudden he left for the enemy. He left for the team that beat them
In 7.
in 7 last year. So
In a year where they could have won the title had he stayed and had they happened to get that one extra win.
I mean, KD even had a restaurant in OKC that shut down. So I mean, I don't think they like him anymore over there, and it's going to be hostile. But I think Golden State, his teammates are going to kind of rally around that and make sure that he has a good game and they have a good game, so they can come out with a victory.
I mean, as much as they're going to be hyped in terms of OKC's home crowd, and as well as what you have to imagine Russell Westbrook could play, I can't anticipate them winning that game because they're just not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, OKC's kind of slipping right now. They're in the 7th spot in the West. They've lost 3 in a row up to this point. Golden State right now has won 5 in a row. And I'm predicting where Russell Westbrook probably gets a triple-double, but in a loss.
Yep, that's been the pattern recently.
Mm-hmm.
The other teams are figuring out their roster where you can let Russell Westbrook go off every night, and it doesn't matter.
And to be fair, OKC is missing Enes Kanter. He's out with injury, and so he's actually been a big part of why they've been winning games because he's been a big presence down low. So without him, that kind of dampens their chances of winning the game.
They need him and his amazing mustache.
They need more than that. But yeah, that wraps it up for my 3 for 3. What we got next?
3 for 3. Marie's picks. Your guess is as good as mine.
This week, as we all know and have been avoiding, the Super Bowl is going to be on Sunday. I am looking forward to the commercials. I think everyone should be looking forward to the commercials. I hear they're going to be excellent. I have avoided all the spoilers, so I have no idea what's coming.
Me neither.
There's spoilers?
Yes, people have been playing the commercials early, the bastards.
Like on TV?
Yeah. Like they were playing them on the radio this morning.
That's messed up.
That is really messed up. They're like, oh, spoiler alert, we're about to play one of the commercials. I'm like, what? What? This is the whole reason I watched this.
What the what?
That is coming up, very much to look forward to. Very exciting. Also, it being February, coming to theaters.
Who's going to win the commercials?
Who's going to win the commercials?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Doritos.
Oh, I got Budweiser in an upset.
Spoiler
you?
alert. I'm going with Geico.
Geico? I like it. So, it being February, this week in movie theaters, for all of you who are after some softcore pornography type movies to take your girl to, 50 Shades Darker is coming out this Friday. It's a lovely date night movie. The last movie I went to see with my mother. That was a mistake.
Is that a spoof?
No,
That's like a real thing?
that is a real thing. Okay, so the 50 Shades trilogy, that book trilogy.
Oh, it's a trilogy.
Yeah, there's another one
Everything's a
after
trilogy.
this. There's another one after this. It's the most poorly written thing I've ever read. It was like once I got in the rabbit hole, though, I just had to keep going.
Yeah.
It was god awful.
So you're going to go see the movie?
I don't know. Probably, because I'm that type of person where once I do like the first one, I kind of have to like see it through. And I have to. I mean, the movie is a lot better than the book. It's much better written. So, Brad's not going. If I'm going alone. So.
Game blouses.
And then, this is very far off, but there's not a whole lot of hype in the world of TV and movies and books right now. There's not a whole lot going on. American Gods is going to come to Stars in April.
Oh, that's something I'll watch.
I know, that it's amazing. I'm very excited about this.
Mr. Wednesday.
Yes, American Gods is a book by Neil Gaiman.
A book what?
A book.
A books.
I almost said a book series. There are sequels, but I don't know that I would call it a series, so I stopped myself.
Neil Gaiman, of course, is the famous comic book artist who did the Sandman series in the 80s.
He also wrote an amazingly funny book called Good Omens with Terry Pratchett, who's kind of a hero in fantasy genre. So a lot of geeks of Brad and I's caliber are very, very excited about this. It's an amazing book.
Hoping for Game of Thrones.
What's it about?
Anticipating Dune.
So it is about, funny enough, gods. So
The American kind.
yes, but most of them are not American. So it takes the idea that gods live among us but become less powerful by less people worshiping them.
Interesting.
And so you have like the Norse gods who have almost no one worshiping them, and they're very weakened, but they're still trying to do a power play. And it's a really good series, basically because it has excellent characters. Like the characterization in this book is amazing, and so there's a lot to live up to with trying to recreate those characters into film. Like Mr. Nazi, like if you mess him up, you're going to mess up the whole series.
All right, so here's the big question. Americans or gods? Legends or leaders? Come on.
That's the new conference name.
No, that's the old Big 12 or Big 10 conference delineations.
Nobody's playing your game.
No.
We're not starting a religion war on this podcast.
We all just ignored the question.
And I think that'll about do it for the Stretch 5 podcast for our NBA insider and quality control person who just joined us for the first time, Marie Rush.
Hi, this is not the first time, you bastard.
And for our co-host, Mr. Brian McCalla.
From Harrison Barnes and myself, happy Black History Month, people.
Wait, but he's not contributing anything.
No, he's not.
I am your host, Brad Sturgeon. Enjoy the festivities, don't watch too much football, and look both ways for crossing the road. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Stretch 5 podcast. All music production credited to Brian McCalla. Podcast production itself credited to Brad Sturgeon. Subscribe to us on iTunes or any other application for podcasts at Stretch 5 Podcast. Find us on Twitter at Stretch5Pod or by email at Stretch5Podcast@gmail.com.